Om Shri Sai Ram. Dear students, in the subject Indian history, in the chapter Guptas, in part 1, we are going to learn about the role of Guptas in the ancient Indian history as an introduction, and also we know about the salient features of Gupta period, and the next one will be the sources which helps us to reconstruct the history of Guptas, and then we learn about the origin of Guptas, and finally we conclude with the political history of Guptas. Now let us know about the role of Guptas in the history of ancient India. Emergence of Guptas marks the beginning of a new phase in the history of ancient India. They achieved political unity for the second time after Mauryas. Actually, after the decline of Mauryas, the North India lost its political solidarity for a long time, nearly about a century. It was true that the Kushanas in the north and the northwestern India and the Shatavahanas in the south Deccan gave some kind of unity for a brief period. After them, India was divided into number of independent states, and they engaged in mutual struggle until 300 CE. Between 200 to 320 CE, there was no powerful empire in India. This period is known as the dark period of ancient Indian history. In the 4th century, Guptas brought back the unity, peace, prosperity to North India. Now let us know about the salient features of Guptan period. The first one being, it struck a severe blow to the foreign rule of Sakas Kushanas. Yes, the Guptan rulers checked the invasion of Sakas, Kushanas, Huns with their might. The second being, it led to the establishment of a national empire. Actually, for the first time, large part of India, North India, Central India, South India and borders as a whole, they came under the rule of one ruler. Thus, Guptan period led to the establishment of a national empire. The third being, it led to the renaissance of Hindu culture. Actually, the revival of Hinduism is an outstanding feature of Guptas. Many temples were constructed and Hinduism gained lot of encouragement. Hinduism became the state religion of Guptas, and even the Guptan kings performed Vedic rites, rituals and yaga, sacrifices like Ashwamedha Yaga, Rajasuya Yaga, Vajpaya Yaga, Putra Kameshti Yaga with so much enthusiasm. And it led to the intellectual development. Tremendous progress happened not only in the field of Hindu culture and spirituality, but also in the field of science, mathematics, astronomy, astrology, metallurgy, medicine, etc. Next being, it led to the development of indigenous art and architecture. The basic structural features of Indian temple architecture were designed during the Gupta period. The places like Banaras, Udayagiri, Devgarh, everything, these places became the centers of artistic activity. It led to the development of literature. Religious literatures like Vedas were brought into writing during Guptan period. And also Sanskrit language gained momentum. They got a lot of encouragements and grants in the hands of Guptan rulers. Guptan rulers asked the scholars to write books in Sanskrit. It led to the economic prosperity of the people. Yes, according to a Chinese scholar Fahian, he wrote that people were happy and humorous and they emulate one another in practicing charity. So that's how they are economically sound, and there was peace, law and order. Again, Fahian's account of Gokoki, record of Buddhist kingdom, they has made a reference about the people led an ideal life. They followed the four principles. They lived in accordance with the four principles: dharma, the righteousness; artha, the wealth; kama, the enjoyment; and the moksha, the liberation. So thus India attained all round progress during the Guptan period. So Guptan period has been rightly said as the golden period in ancient India. Now let us know about the sources which helps us to reconstruct the history of Guptans. Sources. So there are archaeological and literary sources to learn about Guptas. In archaeological sources, we have got plenty of inscriptions, coins, seals and monuments to know about Gupta. And in literary sources, we have indigenous literature, and that is the literature written by native writers, which is called indigenous literature, and the foreign accounts, literature written by foreigners. We have got plenty of literature as well as archaeological sources to rewrite the history of Guptans. Now let us go in detail about the archaeological sources. What are archaeological sources? Archaeological sources are remains of past human life and activities. They include coins, monuments, tools, jewelry, inscriptions, seals, etc. These archaeological sources provide us with valuable information to know about Guptas. The first archaeological source to know about Guptas is inscription. These inscriptions provide us useful information about Gupta history. Inscriptions. What are inscriptions? We have already studied in chapter 1 about inscription in the topic sources of ancient Indian history. Inscriptions are reliable, authentic, direct sources in writing the history, and they are also contemporary. What it means? It happened during that time. It is contemporary, so it is more authentic source to write the history of Guptans. So we have got plenty of inscriptions. Out of that, very important inscription to know about Guptas are two. One is Allahabad pillar inscription, another one is Mehrauli iron pillar inscription. Now let us see about Allahabad pillar inscription. It is the most important inscriptions to know about Guptan period. It was written by Harisena. He is the court poet of Samudragupta. It is actually written in Sanskrit. Actually, inscriptions, it's not written, it is engraved. So I can show you the, see it is engraved, it is not written, it is engraved in the stone, pillars, rocks and iron pillar, copper plates, etc. So it was written by Harisena. It contains a single sentence, only one verse, but it has got 33 lines. The poet laureate of Harisena has written it, and This Allahabad pillar inscription describes Samudragupta as the hero of 100 battles. What it means? Actually, it gives a detailed account on the military achievements of Samudragupta. That is his North Indian conquest, his South Indian conquest, his conquest of border states, and his conquest of tribal regions of India. And Allahabad pillar inscription also tells about the personality of Samudragupta as a scholar, as a musician, and as a statesman. So inscription, and next important inscription is Mehrauli pillar inscription. An iron pillar at Mehrauli near Delhi also contained an inscription. This inscription describes the achievements of Chandragupta too. What we have studied earlier, Allahabad pillar inscription, it describes the achievements of Samudragupta. Mehrauli describes the achievements of Chandragupta too. So another important inscription which is inscribed in the copper plates. So this inscription in copper plates gives valuable information regarding the religious grants made by the Guptan rulers to temples. So let us move on to the another important archaeological source to know about Guptan history. Yes, of course, it is coins. Coins, the first being, it provides us an insight into the economic condition of Guptan period. Actually, Samudragupta and Chandragupta too, alias Chandragupta Vikramaditya, issued 6 different types of gold coins. Also, the gold coins issued by the early Gupta rulers, that is Samudragupta, Chandragupta I and Chandragupta II, is far more superior than the gold coins issued by the later Guptan rulers. It testifies that there is a degradation in the economic condition of Guptans during the later period. We come to know about this from the coins, and it helps us to understand the religious condition during the Guptan period. Yes, most of the coins issued by Samudragupta as well as Chandragupta too bear the image of goddess Lakshmi. It proved that they are staunch Vaishnavites, and it gives the valuable information about the names and titles of various Gupta rulers. Yes, in one of the coins issued by Samudragupta, it bear an image, it bear a title called Ashwamedha Rajan. It proved that he had a great faith in Vedic culture, and also he performed Ashwamedha Yagna with great enthusiasm. And it tells about the special interest of Gupta rulers. What it means? Actually, in one of the coins issued by Samudragupta again, Samudragupta has been shown playing a lyre. A lyre is a kind of a string instrument like veena, which was used at that time. So it shows, or it testifies his love for music. So we come to know about these points from the mere coins. Next important, so we can see the coins here. See, this is one of the coin issued by Samudragupta. His queen is there in the coin. It's a gold, pure gold coin. And next important archaeological source which helps us to study Guptans is seals. So we can, what is a seal? So it is used as a stamp. So they are very helpful in understanding the local as well as the provincial administration during the Gupta period. Next we have very important archaeological source which helps in rewriting the history of Guptans is monuments. What are monuments? Monuments are structures of historical importance. They include forts, palaces, whatnot, statues, temples, etc. They provide examples for the advancement of art under the Guptas. From the monuments, we come to know about their advancement of art, what it means. The fine sculptures of Badami caves, an image of Buddha at Saranath shows their artistic taste, their advancement in artistic taste, and also the paintings of Ajanta and Ellora give us an insight about their perfection which the cave paintings have achieved during the Guptan period. So next one, we can know about the religion which was commonly followed by the people. Commonly Hinduism was followed, but they have good tolerance towards other religions also, Buddhism and Jainism. And the important deities or commonly worshipped deities were Shiva, Vishnu, Shakti, Jain Tirthankars and Buddha. We come to know about all these details from the monuments. So next we move on to the another set of sources, category of sources which helps us to rewrite the history of Guptans is, so we can see the monument. See, this is the Dashavatara temple at Devgarh. So let us move to the next section of sources, literary sources. Here we know about the two literary sources, indigenous as well as foreign sources. Indigenous literary sources, that is Indian literary sources, provide us with valuable information to reconstruct the history of Guptans. The first being the Puranas, very important literary source of Guptas or Puranas. Especially we have a reference in Vayu Purana, Brahmanda Purana, Matsya Purana, Vishnu Purana and Bhagavata Purana. From these Puranas we have gathered these many informations. First being, it supplies us with valuable informations about the dynastic history of Guptas. And then it furnishes details about the provinces and boundaries under the Guptas. Next, it gives the details about the contemporaries, one who lived during that period, contemporaries of Samudragupta. We have known about them, Nagas, Vakatakas and Sakas. So from the Puranas we knew so many details. Next important Indian literary source we are going to discuss today is dramas. Yes, Devi Chandraguptam of Vishaka Datta. It is a play written by author Vishaka Datta. It tells about the political history of Gupta period. And the same author authored another play called Mudra Rakshasa. It gives some information about the tribes existing during the Guptan period. Another and also it gives a detail about the contemporaries of Samudragupta, that is Nagas, Vakatakas and Sakas. And another important play, Kaumudi Mahotsava of Vajjika, Vidya Vajjika, a lady scholar. From this play we come to know about some information about the origin and the rise of Guptan dynasty and also the political situation of Magadha during the Guptan period. Next important source is literary source, Indian literary source to know about Guptans is, yes, the none other than the Kalidasa's works. We all know that Kalidasa is extolled as Shakespeare of India. So he wrote dramas and epics. In one drama, Abhignata Shakuntala, and the epic Raghuvamsha, it provides us with useful information about the political, social, economic, religious condition prevailing at that time. The next work is Harsha Charitra of Banabhatta. We have studied in our earlier school days at Harshavardhana, one of the important ruler of Vardhana dynasty. So Harsha Charitra means biography of Harsha. It was written by Banabhatta. This book provides us with useful information regarding the relationship between the later Gupta rulers and the rulers of Vardhana dynasty. So now let us move to the second part of the literary sources, which is the foreign accounts. We have two foreign accounts to study about the history of Guptas. The first one being the Fahian's account, another one is Itsing's account. Fahian's account. Fahian is a great Chinese scholar. He visited India during the period of Chandragupta II. The period is between 405 to 411 CE. He remained in India for about 7 years, and also he spent more than 3 years in Pataliputra, the capital of Guptan Empire. So the purpose of his visit to India is to collect, the main purpose is to collect the Buddhist literature and translate it into Chinese language, and also pay homage to the places associated with the life of Buddha. Kotan, Peshawar, Kanauj, and what else? Kapilavastu, Pataliputra. So he visited all places and several other places also which are associated with Buddhism. So he, in his book Go Ko Ki, it is means Records of Buddhist Kingdom, is a great source of information on administration of Guptas, political, religious and social condition prevailing during Guptan period. And the next important account, foreign account, is Itsing's account. Itsing, he came to India after the death of Harshavardhana. Actually, it is around 7th century CE. Fahian came during 5th century CE. So in his book PUC, he provides details about the founder of Guptan dynasty. That is Sri Gupta is mentioned about him. So now let us move on to the origin of Guptan period. So what is the origin of Guptas? Both origin and early home of Guptas are wrapped in mystery. Yes. So we have a reference, original home of Guptas as viewed by historians. So according to R.C. Majumdar, Dr. R.C. Majumdar, Guptas belong to Bengal. Dr. K.P. Jaiswal regards Prayag as their original home. And according to Dr. Romila Thapar, Magadha is the original place of Guptas. The same type of controversy has ranged to the tribe in which the Guptans belonged. So this tribe of Guptas also viewed by the historians and literature. According to Dr. Roy Chowdhury, they were Brahmins. According to Dr. D.P. Chattopadhyay, they are Kshatriyas. According to Dr. K.P. Jaiswal, they are Shudras. And according to Vishnu Purana, they were Vaishyas or landlords. Now let us move to the political history of Guptas. Actually, there were 12 rulers, Guptan rulers, who ruled from 300 to 600 CE. The main Guptan rulers were, the first one being Sri Gupta, Ghatotkacha, Chandragupta I, Samudragupta, Chandragupta II, Kumaragupta and Skandagupta. Let us go in detail about each of these Guptan rulers. First, Sri Gupta, the first ruler of Gupta dynasty. He established a small kingdom which comprised a small portion of Bengal. Puna copperplate inscription of Prabhavati Gupta, his daughter of Chandragupta II, describes him as Adi Raja of Gupta dynasty. We have also a reference in the Ridapur copperplate inscription about Sri Gupta. And Itsing account, the Chinese traveler's account, also made a reference about Sri Gupta, who came during the 7th century CE. After the death of Harshavardhana, he also left a record of about the Sri Gupta, the founder of Guptan dynasty. The next we move on to the second ruler of Guptan dynasty, Ghatotkacha, the son and the successor of Sri Gupta. So Pune copperplate inscription of Prabhavati Gupta, and it tells about it has a mention about him, and very little was known about his rule. His son was Chandragupta I. Both Sri Gupta and Ghatotkacha, they bear the title Maharaja. It means that they were not independent kings. They were subordinate rulers who ruled under Murundas. Actually, they are basically feudal chiefs. So, next ruler, Chandragupta I, is the first important ruler of Gupta dynasty. Why? Because under him only Gupta dynasty rose in a position of a great kingdom. Guptan era. It started from 320 CE. It commenced from the first day of the rule of Chandragupta I. He ruled for a period of 15 years, 320 CE to 335 CE. His marriage alliance with Licchavi Republic, that is his marriage with Kumara Devi, a Licchavi princess, helped him in amassing great political gains by adding Licchavi principality to Magadha. Thereby it enhanced the prestige and the power of Guptas. Actually, the marriage of Chandragupta with Licchavi was such a matter of prestige that his son Samudragupta proudly announced himself as Licchavi Dauhitra. What is the meaning of it? It is the grandson of Licchavis. So this marriage alliance plays a pivotal role in bringing Chandragupta I to the title Maharajadi Raja. This title is somewhat far superior than the earlier Guptan ruler's title. What is that? Maharaja. So after this marriage alliance only, he got the title Maharaja Raja, and Pataliputra became his capital, and his kingdom included part of modern Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Bengal. You can see that. Before we step into the home assignment section, let us have a quick recap of what we have dealt in this session. So we discussed from the beginning with the role of Guptans in the history of ancient India. In that we discussed about how they began a new phase in the history of ancient India, and they achieved political unity for the second time after the Mauryas, even though Kushanas in the north and the northwest India and Shatavahanas gave some kind of unity for a brief period. After that, the period between the 200 to 320 CE, no powerful empire was there in India, and it was called as the dark period of ancient India. And during 4th century CE, Guptas brought back unity, peace and prosperity to North India. Next we learnt about the salient features. The first one being it struck a severe blow to foreign rule. It checked the invasion of Sakas, Huns and Kushanas. Guptans did with great might, and it led to the establishment of national empire. For the first time, India under North India, South India, Central India came under the rule of one king, and it led to the renaissance of Hindu culture. In that we discussed about the revival of Hinduism, which is an outstanding feature of Guptan period, and The kings performed Vedic rites, rituals, and sacrifices with great enthusiasm, and many temples were constructed, and Hinduism became the state religion of Guptas. And Hinduism gained a lot of encouragement from the Guptan rulers. That and all points we have discussed in this. And then it led to the intellectual development. In that we talked about the progress which were happened in the field of science, metallurgy, mathematics, astrology, astronomy, medicine, etc. along with the field of Indian Hindu culture and spirituality. And then we talked about the development of indigenous art and architecture. In that we talked about the sculptures of Badami caves and image of Buddha and Sharanath gives an insight to the artistic taste of the people, and the paintings of Ajanta and Ellora showed us the perfection this art, the painting had achieved during Guptan period. And also we talked about the economic prosperity. That time we quoted Fahian's statement. What is that? People were very much prosperous, they are happy, they are humorous, and they compete with each other in practicing charity. So it tells us their greatness. They are economically sound, and there was peace, law, and order. They emulate the four principles: dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and they led an ideal life. So thus India got an all-round development in every aspect of life, and also Guptan period marks a new epoch, and it is rightly termed as the golden period of ancient Indian history. Then we moved on to the sources which helps us to know about the Guptans. There are two sources, one is archaeological, another one is literary sources to know about Guptans. Archaeological sources, we have plenty of inscriptions, coins, seals and monuments to rewrite the history of Guptans. And in literary sources, we have indigenous literature and foreign accounts, literature by native writers and foreign literature by foreign writers. And we moved on to the archaeological sources. We know about what are archaeological sources. They are the remains of past human life and activities. For example of archaeological sources, we have discussed what are we discussed? Coins, monuments, statues, jewelry, and then tools, utensils, seals, inscriptions. In that, the first important archaeological sources we discussed is inscription. It provides useful information to know about Guptans, and the most important inscription is Allahabad pillar inscription. It was written by the court poet Harisena. It contains a single verse with 33 lines. He is a poet laureate. He describes Samudragupta as the hero of 100 battles. That it gives a detailed account of his achievements, military achievements, his North India, South India, tribal and border region conquests. And then it also tells about the personality of Samudragupta as a scholar, musician, statesman, and also he is a poet par excellence. Actually, he was given the title Kavi Raja, Samudragupta. And then so this inscription is engraved, it is not written, it is engraved on rocks, pillars, copper plates, and stones, walls, etc. And these inscriptions, what is the speciality of the inscription we discussed? They are authentic, reliable and direct sources to write the history, and also they are contemporary. That is why it is the most authentic source to write the history of any kingdom or any region, any country. And then we talked about another important inscription is Mehruli pillar inscription near Delhi, and it contains the achievements of Chandragupta too. And next we moved on to the copper plate inscriptions, which 99% tells about the religious grants made by the Guptan kings to the temples. And then we move to the second important source, archaeological source to rewrite the history, coins, how they provide an insight to the economic conditions. We discussed about the 6 different types of gold coins issued by the Samudragupta and Chandragupta, and the gold coins issued by the early Guptan rulers are far superior than the gold coins issued by the later Guptan rulers. It tells about their degradation of economic condition during the later Guptan period, and also it tells us to understand the religious condition. So the image of that it bears the image of Lakshmi. Samudragupta's coin as well as Chandragupta coin bear the image of Lakshmi. It shows they are staunch Vaishnavites, and they provide us with valuable information about the names and titles. In Samudragupta coin, we will bear a title called what? Ashwamedha Rajan. It proved that he had a great love, faith in the Vedic religion, and also he performed all the yajnas, especially Ashwamedha Yajna, and he had special interest in. It also tells about the special interest of the Gupta rulers. We talked about one of the Samudragupta's coins. In that, he has been shown playing a lyre, a veena kind of instrument. It testifies his love for music, and also coins also tells about the science of metallurgy. So when we talk about the coins of ancient Indian rulers, Gupta coins and Shatavahana coins are noteworthy. They show the artistic skills of the period. Their advancement in the minting of minting of coins, and also the metallurgical skills. So this is one of the Guptan coins issued by Samudragupta, and then we moved on to the next important archaeological source, seals. It helps us in understanding the local and provincial administration. And next important source, archaeological sources, monuments. They are structures of historical importance. What are the examples of monuments? Can we guess? Yes, forts, palaces, basadis, and statues, temples, etc. And they also provide examples for their advancement of art under the Guptas. And it furnished details about the life of people, and we can know about the religion commonly used. Hinduism was commonly practiced, and both Buddhism and Jainism was accepted with so much ease, and the people worshipped deities like Shiva, Vishnu, Shakti, and Jain Tirthankars and Buddha. Next, we studied about the second. See, these are the Guptan seals, monuments. We talked about literary sources. In that, two categories are the indigenous literature and foreign literature. Plenty of literary sources we have got to know about Guptans. In indigenous literature, that is the native, that is literatures by the native writers. We have the first important literature called the Puranas. As with Guptans, Vayu, Matsya, Brahmanda, Vishnu and Bhagavata Purana supplies these kind of informations. We got information from this Purana. It tells about the dynastic history of Guptas, and it tells about the provinces and boundaries under Guptans, and also it tells about the contemporaries of Guptas, Vakatakas, Nagas and Sakas. It gives details about them also. And then another important indigenous literature is drama. Two dramas by Vishaka Datta. One is Devi Chandraguptam and Mudra Rakshasa. Devi Chandraguptam tells about the political history, and Mudra Rakshasa tells about the tribes existing during that period, and it also tells about the contemporaries of Samudragupta. And another important play is Kaumudi Mahotsava, written by a lady scholar, Vidya Vajjika. It provides information about the origin and the rise of Gupta dynasty, and also it tells about the political condition of Magadha during the Guptan period. And next we moved on to the Kalidasa's works, the Shakespeare of India. His drama Abhijna the Shakuntala and the epic Raghuvamsa provide many useful information about the political, social, economic and religious conditions prevailing at that time. Especially the Raghuvamsa, this epic, actually describes the expedition of Raghu. He was identified, this character Raghu was identified with Samudragupta and Chandragupta too by different scholars. And then Harsha Charitra of Banabhatta, so the great Vardhana ruler, his biography written by Banabhatta, it also provides useful information about the relationship between the later Guptan kings and the kings of Vardhana dynasty. And next we moved on to the foreign accounts. In that Fahian's account, both Fahyan's account and Itzing account, both of them came during different period. He came during the 5th century CE and Itzing came during the 7th century CE. Both of them came to India. The purpose of their visit to India is to collect Buddhist literature, get it translated to Chinese, and also pay homage to the holy places associated with the life of Buddha. They visited so many important places: Peshawar, Kanauj, Kushinagar, Kapilavastu, Patna, and several other places associated with Buddhism, and they remained in India. So he came during 501 to 505 to 511. He remained in India for about 7 years, and he spent more than 3 years in Pataliputra, the capital of Guptan Empire, to study the Buddhist literature and to learn Sanskrit. His book Gokoki, we have information about administration of Guptans, political, religious and social economic conditions of Guptan period. And in Itzing account, even though he came after the death of Harsha, we could know about the founder of Guptan dynasty, the details about the founder of Guptan dynasty from his account. And next we moved on to the origin of Guptas. So it is a mystery. It is shrouded in mystery, both the origin as well as the early home. And these are the views of historians. Majumdar, he told that they belong to Bengal, and K.P. Jaiswal records that Prayag is their original home, and Ramila Thapar said that Magadha is the original home of Guptas. And also the same similar controversy has ranged for the tribe to which the Guptans belonged. Dr. Rai Chaudhary told that they are Brahmins, and Dr. D.P. Chattopadhyaya tells that the Guptans were Kshatriyas, and according to K.P. Jaiswal they were Shudras or Jat, and according to Vishnu Puran they were Vaishyas or landlords. So next we concluded with the political history of Guptans. In that between 300 to 600 CE there were 12 Guptan rulers who ruled India. In that 7 of them are very important rulers. So first will being the Sri Gupta, next Gadotkacha, Chandragupta, Samudragupta, Chandragupta to Kumaragupta and Skandagupta. Then we go into detail about each of these rulers. And Sri Gupta is the first ruler, and we have got a reference in the Pune copperplate inscription of Prabhavati Gupta as the Adi Raja of the Guptan dynasty. That it means that founder of Guptan dynasty, and he established a small kingdom and he ruled a part of Bengal, and he got the title Maharaja. And we have a reference in Itzing's account also about him. And next ruler will be Gatotkacha. His son is Chandragupta I, and Pune copperplate inscription tells about him. Very little was known about him, and he is a son and successor of Sri Gupta. Next we talked about the titles assumed by both Sri Gupta and Gatotkacha. Title is Maharaja. It means that they were not independent kings, they were subordinate rulers who ruled under Murundas. They are but merely feudal chiefs as per Guptan records. And then we moved on to the very important ruler of Guptan dynasty, Chandragupta I. He is a very important ruler of Gupta dynasty. And under him, why? Because under him only Guptan dynasty rose in a position to a great kingdom. And Gupta era commences from 320 CE, which is the first year of the rule of Chandragupta I. And the very important turning point in the life of Chandragupta we talked about is his marriage alliance with Lichavi Republic. So his marriage with Kumaradevi, Lichavi princess, helped him to amass a great political gains by adding Lichavi provinces to Magadha. Thereby it enhanced the Guptan dynasty with more prestige and power. And his that marriage of Chandragupta with Lichavi is a matter of prestige that his son Samudragupta. So we have seen Samudragupta. He proudly announced that he proudly announced himself that he is Lichavi Dauhitra. It's a grandson of Lichavi. That much prestigious matter it is. And then this marriage alliance took him to the high pedestal, and he became the Maharaja, the title which was far superior than the title assumed by the early Guptan rulers. And his kingdom included large part of modern Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Bengal. And next, the Pataliputra is the capital of Chandragupta I. So let us move on to the home assignment section of today's session. So the first question being, who was the founder of Gupta dynasty? When did the Gupta era commence? The third one, who composed the Allahabad pillar inscription? Fourth one, who wrote Go Ko Ki? The fifth question, which inscription describes the conquest of Samudragupta? Till we meet again, Sai Ram.